Hello, and so welcome to part two of the week four lecture. And here we're going to talk about the final parts about how you store and upload your group video, and then move on to assignment two and the vital written bits that you need to contribute in that. Okay, so finishing off with the video, you've now recorded your group video all together at one time, if not in one place, because of COVID. So you've recorded online. Um, you can both the apps, Google Meet and Zoom, will store them on the apps, and you could leave them there, but that will only leave them there for 90 days. If you've done a good job, uh, I'd suggest that you might want future employers to look at it. So why not keep it on YouTube? It'll last on YouTube for a long time, months and possibly years as well. So upload your video to YouTube, and certainly on well, many of them there's an option to do where do you want to upload this, and YouTube is the commonest place to do it. Okay, so upload it to YouTube, and that will then mean that future employers can you can point them to that and say, well, look, here is one I did earlier, a group video, and we made it, stored it, and uploaded it, and here it is. And you all might want to share it, and if of course you only want to show your section to future employers, you say, here's my group video. I appeared from minutes 6 to 9, and then they know which bits to look at for you. And of course, what it does prove indisputably is that you can work effectively in a group, beyond any doubt. So if that's one of the key requirements of a job, yep, tick in the box, you've got that, and you just need to refer to that in your CV. And finally, for this assignment, you do need to upload the link to YouTube to the Moodle Dropbox. So the Dropboxes are being set up in weeks 4 and 5, and there'll be three parts to it. One where you can upload the link to your group's video, a Dropbox where you can put in or a file in the Dropbox where you can put in your group's slides, which should be either in PowerPoint or in as a PDF. And then you can also put in your spreadsheet or any other bits of supporting information that you want, which prove how consistent your group forecasts are. And of course, remember to do all of that well before Monday the 26th of October. You don't want to fail just because you missed the deadline by a day or so. That would be really tragic. So make sure that of course, that leads back to when are you going to actually record the video. Make sure you do it with a couple of days leeway, just in case something goes wrong or you suddenly realize something else needs to be added. And then here, just to remind you of what we're looking for and the quality of your submissions, there's on page 15 and 16 of the handbook, there's a detailed marking grid, and the 4 parts: presentation, content, research, and group coherence all get equal weighting, but within them the individual criteria don't get equal weighting. So I mean, in presentation, the biggest thing is visuals, and an example of where it's the message is very, very unclear, well, then under that score you'd be getting less than 30, and quite often we give 0. On the other hand, if a whole characteristic is just missing, then we have no choice but to give 0. On the other hand, if you've really done a very good job, we don't just give 70%. For that component we can give 100%. You get maximum marks. So out of 7 on visuals, it's possible some people will get 7, and well done them. Okay, so look at that marking grid and make sure that you understand it before you commit anything on the video. And finally, there is a group coherence mark, and remember, of course, that counts for 25% of assignment 1 and everyone gets the same mark there. Everyone in the group gets that. Right, let's move on to assignments 2 and 3. And what we're looking at here are the individual components which are common to both assignments 2 and 3. So assignment 2 is the interview, and with it, before you sit the interview, you must submit your CV, your cover letter, and your employer awareness report. If you don't do that, we don't know which job you're applying for, so we can't give you an interview. Okay, so you have to do that by Monday of week 8. So assignments 2 and 3 take you through a complete revolution of the job seeking cycle. You may not get the job, but at least you do get an interview and you get some feedback on it. And you should always ask for feedback in a job, whether you get it or not. So we take you through a complete cycle. You must pick one job from the 6 that we are offering to you on the week 5 tab. And we want you to produce and submit your one-page CV, which should include a LinkedIn profile. And that would be your best one-page CV. And we'll have some reminders of what's really good practice there. We also want your one-page cover letter for that job. So it's got to be that particular job that you, out of the 6 that you've selected as being the closest to what you might actually want to do as a job. And remember, we've all had to at times in the past apply for jobs that are not ideal, but they are the best that we can find in the circumstances. And we also want to see what we call an employer awareness report about that particular firm or organisation. We'll talk a little bit about that this time. And then, of course, you've got to attend the interview in weeks 8, 9 or 10. And then assignment 2 is done. But you've also submitted quite a lot of the stuff for assignment 3. So for assignment 3, you have to submit the items 1, 2 and 3 above as they are, and you mustn't change them. But if as a result of the interview you feel that wasn't as good as I could have done, then you get a chance to improve it by reflecting on that in the reflection and perhaps improving your own personal development plan. So that's what we've got for you in assignment 3. And of course, the first assignment 2 has to be done by Monday of week 8, which means that's Monday of week 8, not Friday. So you've got to have done the work in weeks 6 and 7. So you've really got to get a move on in the 2 weeks immediately after assignment 1 is finished. Assignment 3 only has to be done by week 12 and is only probably 600 words or thereabouts. And that needs to be done by week 12. But you can't do it until you've had the interview. If you have the interview in week 8, you could probably finish it off in week 8, and there you are. You'd be done on this module. Let's just go over with a different example from the one that we gave previously last week, the structure of a good CV entry. So here's a typical job. Someone was janitor of a school one summer, a few years ago. So start with the bare facts. You must have a very clear timeline. Make sure the dates are very clear as to when you were this janitor. Make sure that the employer is named. Don't give an unnamed, cafe in Sydney or something like that. People begin to sort of think, is this real or has this person actually made it up? So you must quote an actual employer, and you must give a location and also your job title. Okay. And then when we come to the stuff that you did under the job, do not list all the stuff that you daily did, like opened up at 8:30, let the cat out, got the milk in. We're not interested in that. There's no great consequence today. What we want is 2 or 3 things that you learned from doing this experience. And so here, it may be that the longest job you did was a deep clean all the classrooms. Well, that's deeply boring, isn't it? But if there's consequences of that, you actually reveal 7 fire hazards, well, those could kill people. 7 fire hazards, suddenly breaks out, and you've got a whole load of dead kids on your hand, and some teachers. So that's useful to say. And then maybe your boss, the headmaster or something, was away, head teacher was away, and you had some workmen in, and the head teacher effectively asked you to manage the decorators or whoever it was, whilst they were away. Well, then there you are. You're in a managerial position. Shout about it. This is the time to shout. So, first of all, let's look at those verbs there. Undertook and improved. These are active verbs in the past, and they're very specific actions. I did this, okay? And then what's the result? Well, the result there was a safer school. Well, that's got to be worth shouting about, isn't it? And then here's what I got out of it. Well, I supervised the painters and carpenters. That's supervision and management skills. Yeah, that's what I got out of it. I have done it, once, only for a day or two, but I did do it, or a week, and you can then put that into your cover letter if you need to. If it sort of says, preference will be given to someone who has some managerial experience. Say, well, it's only a little bit, but yes, I have had some managerial experience. And if then they ask you to tell you what, you say, well, and you tell the little story of you supervising someone, and that's what we call a vignette, a little story. But it's got to be very condensed. You've got to manage to keep it down to 60 seconds or so, and it's got to include a result. And that's the technique that we'll be talking about next week when we talk about interview technique. And then let's go over the fundamentals of a traditional cover letter. Now, a form might be fairly similar, so we still have the same sorts of things. But if it was literally a cover letter, they said we want you to apply by letter or email, then an email including a cover letter, then make sure you've got everything there that should be there. So put the recruiter's address in. That's the person to whom you're applying. Have a name person. If it says, to John Smith, put Dear Mr. Smith. It'll usually be an HR person. And then, of course, you must have your contact details in there, just in case your CV gets removed or detached from your cover letter.